Back to one of the last places in America where opposing views are respectfully listened to and sometimes even agreed with. I am your host, Titan, and this show is Making Waves. You know how it works. We have chosen 2 volunteers who have selected a topic, and each of them will argue opposing sides. We have 5 anonymous judges who will listen as each side spends 4 minutes on opening arguments, then answers 4 rebuttal questions with 1-minute answers apiece, and then spends 2 minutes on closing statements. The next 20 minutes might not change your life, but they just might change your mind. And it is all made possible by our wonderful sponsor, Top Fox Snacks. Riptide, let's make some waves. Greetings, judges. As you know, you will remain anonymous. There's no pressure on you to vote one way or the other. We are asking that you please leave your personal opinions to the side and base your decisions strictly on the arguments you hear tonight. We're going to assume if there are any facts offered this evening that they are indeed true, unless they are successfully refuted in the Q&A round. And we do reserve the right to overrule a judge's ruling should we find that one of the arguments was indeed a lie. Now, before we introduce our volunteers, let's find out what topic they've selected to debate. All right, it's a tricky one tonight. Females should have their own esports teams and leagues rather than making existing teams and leagues co-ed. All right, this is going to be fun. All right, we have 2 volunteers. Let me first introduce our first volunteer, arguing the pro side, agreeing with this statement, is our friend Aiden. Aiden, how are you doing tonight?
Good, ready to debate, ready to make some waves, feeling good.
Excellent, excellent. Sorry, a little bit of a technical problem there, but we finally got you up there. And arguing the con side, disagreeing with this statement, is our friend GunSlngr. GunSlngr, how are you doing? Oh, wait, he's muted. Are you muted on your side or on ours?
It was me.
No worries. Just want to make sure we can hear everything you got to say. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Ready to tackle this evening's topic. It's definitely a tricky one. So
it's a tricky one, but we appreciate you being here. Thanks for all the work. Thanks for all the work, both of you. Now, earlier tonight, there was a coin toss, which Aiden won, and he elected to defer. So GunSlngr will begin tonight. And just to remind you, GunSlngr will spend 4 minutes on an opening argument. Then Aiden will spend 4 minutes on his opening argument. And then since Aiden speaks second, GunSlngr, you will ask Aiden 4 questions, each of which will have up to a 1-minute answer. Then Aiden, you will return the favor. And then GunSlngr will spend 2 minutes on his closing statement. And Aiden, you get the last word. All right, once again, the topic tonight, females should have their own esports teams and leagues rather than making existing ones co-ed. Now, Gunny, you are going first, disagreeing with this statement. Make your case.
All right. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the court. I come to you representing myself. I'm so sorry. Old habits die hard. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is relatively simple. Should females be required to start their own leagues and teams? Now, it's a very interesting topic because there is a very distinct lack of females in a majority of professional esports teams. Does this mean that they're shunned from the industry? Not at all. A lot of teams, a lot of esports, teams, such as teams for CSGO, they're openly co-ed, along with pretty much other pretty much every other esport out there. It just so happens that more men turn up to the pro circuit. Now, esports as a whole is an industry that has taken the world by storm. Viewership with over 500 million people. People from all age groups, socioeconomic trends, or statuses enjoy esports from as little as once a month to being willing to invest into the industry entirely. Now, while it may seem like they're only males, there are quite a few predominant female professionals, such as, for example, Grigori, the first female pro player in Overwatch. Not only that, but she was also ranked as Time Magazine's Next Generation Leader. There's also VK Lion, who's not only the first female to grace the Blizzard stage in a tournament, but was also the first female to win a Grand Masters Hearthstone tournament. Now, do I feel inclusion is key in this scenario? Yes. In the society that we live in today, there are a lot of things that cause a lot of tension and stress. And let's face it, this topic alone is probably going to be one of the most, if not the most, controversial topics that'll be covered in Making Waves. Most importantly, too, I also want to make note that there are teams currently in place that are predominantly or strictly female. For example, we have CLG Red. Now, these teams should be free to compete as normal, the same way other teams are, whether or not they're co-ed or seem to be co-ed. The most important thing for teams is people play with who they feel comfortable with, and you can't really judge them for that. Now, do I feel it would be more beneficial for there to be more females in the limelight? Absolutely. If a lot more female players enter the pro scene and the pro circuit, it would be one of those things where it seems more socially acceptable. And because of that, it'll build ranks up of more female professional gamers across multiple platforms and games. Currently, there are about 46%, 46% of gamers are female. And this number seems to have been increasing over the past few years. And of course, if there were more female representation in professional leagues, especially co-ed, it would be safe to say that these numbers would further increase. I know it was 4 minutes, but I think that's all that I have for my opening statement.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, GunSlngr. Aiden, you're arguing the pro side, agreeing with the statement that females should have their own esports teams and leagues. Make your case.
All right, so my case is co-ed esports teams already exist. There is nothing out there saying that a female can't be on a guy's team. If you want, okay, hold on. I say this because in the rulebook, for example, like the League of Legends rulebook, or the RLCS Rocket League rulebook, when referring to a person, they say him or her or himself or herself, implying that females are just as welcome in the pro scene. Here's the one thing: is that it's as simple as it gets. Overall, females just don't match up to the males, and let me say why. Russian League of Legends team, Invictus Esports, 2019, they decided to get rid of their roster and make an all-female League of Legends team to compete in LCL. The first day, they lost 12-1 to an all-male team. What happens, some of us get swept. It just happens sometimes. The next day, they lost 52-2. The other team was stat padding on them in a competitive tournament, just because it was that easy for them to take it. And then, after that, they broke the world record for the fastest defeat in LCL. That world record is 13 minutes. For context, in order to forfeit a game of competitive League of Legends, you have to play for 15 minutes. And then, furthermore, it took Invictus 11 pro matches to break a single tower. And the whole the whole point of the League of Legends game is you defeat your opponents and break their towers to win the game. And then they eventually lost all 34 of their games and were kicked out of the LCS. So obviously, as you saw there, females can compete in the male pro scene, but a team of all females just can't. It just is shown that they can't stack up against an all male team. Now, tournament organizers could start regulating it so that teams have to have one or two female players on their team. Um, However, I believe that teams might obviously not be happy with this because they're paying for what they could see as a handicap on their team. The orgs will pay good money for the best of the best players, and just those players happen to be male most of the time. I don't know about you guys, but if I was brought onto a team because of regulation and not because of the skill I can provide, I wouldn't be very happy with that. All right. And then I got my like last 30 seconds. Skill isn't the only thing when it comes to picking a player, obviously. There's also chemistry, for example. Um if I were to have a five stack of players, and if I had a five stack of players and they were all pretty good, they've been playing with each other for like several years, and there was one player that was better than all of them, I would I would have a hard time replacing one of the players with that good player because the other five have such high team chemistry. They've been playing, they know each other well, they know each other's playstyles, they've been playing with each other for years. So not only is skill a factor, but chemistry is also. So on top of the fact that a female could be much better than another guy player, if it also comes down to team chemistry on top of skill. I believe females could definitely be in the pro scene, but it's gonna take a lot of work.
All right, right at the bell. Okay, thank you both very much. Now, Gunslinger, you have 4 questions, and each answer, Aiden, is up to 1 minute apiece. Go ahead, Gunslinger.
All right, so boy, no, let me stop. What do you think about the other teams that are predominantly female, who don't? You're right, they don't stack up. They straight annihilate. You have CLG Gaming, or CLG. I think that would just be the CLG team. I think. Sorry, don't want to be redundant. Um, and other CS:GO teams that are predominantly female and just completely decimate the field. You have the 2 examples that I mentioned earlier. Um, it how do you explain the fact that I mean, you're saying that females can't compete because they can't stack up, but you have these examples of teams that truly have. How do you?
All right, so females, they can stack up to the males, but I'm saying overall, if you take the best male and the best female, I'm willing to bet that the male would beat them. And I obviously have no problem with co-ed teams. You know, I find that being a great thing. I've just seen that predominantly male teams tend to win things. Like take example RLCS, Rocket League Championship Series. It's almost all dudes just winning the entire championship, and they did have a female player, and I shouldn't say they. So there was a team that had a female player, and you know she did pretty good with their team, and but eventually they just fell short. And guess who won it? It was a team of all males, which is why I believe that they should have separate leagues. Like in sports, for example, most pro sports have separate leagues.
So you feel that that would be a much better solution for all games in general, for there to be just a completely separate league. Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of the point here. Let's see here. So, other than that one team that you had mentioned, um, the one that you said went had set the record for the earliest defeat. Um, that was only the one example that you had brought up, that the prime example of females that couldn't stack up. Do you have any other female teams that you can bring up, or you got a minute to do a quick Google foo, see if you can find any other teams that can possibly fit that profile as well, because it's a little rough to say that they don't stack up and only bring one team to the table.
Yeah, no, I completely get you on that one. I'm not gonna come up with any BS excuses. That is the only team that I've researched and written down. But I do know one off the top of my head. Splice Gaming. They had Karma, and two other players. It wasn't an all female team. It was a female led team. Karma was their captain, and they made it past RLRS, which is a level below RLCS, and then made it into RLCS, and then just didn't make it very far up that chain. And the teams that beat them were just all predominantly male. Were all male, actually.
Okay. Let's see here. Now, the other thing that you had mentioned was that you would, so to speak, put your money on the fact that if you had grabbed a professional male player and a professional female player, same game, that the male would outperform the female. Do you have any scientific evidence that would be able to support that? Anything that would suggest that there's a possibility that the male would have a faster response time or anything along those lines, or is that just
Yeah, studies have been conducted that men generally, not all guys compared to all girls, just generally have a faster reaction time than women do. And this is important in almost every single game, such as like FPS games or fighting games, where like the amount of time that it takes for you to react could be the matter of a win or a loss.
okay? Um, do you have any? What's the name of that study that you were trying to quote? A second.
Here, let me
Clarify that.
grab. Uh, 1 second.
Sorry.
Yeah. I have the
I know
link
we.
here.
If
It's
you know what,
just
you could give that to me later.
yeah.
We'll just call that a fact for now. All right. I am currently out of questions. I
All right.
All right. Thank you very much, GunSlngr. Appreciate that. Okay. Now you have, Aiden, you have up to 4 questions, and GunSlngr, you need 1 minute apiece answers. So, Aiden, what do you have?
All right. So my first question is I don't doubt it, but I have yet to really see it. I mean, obviously I don't watch many of these games, but you said that some of these female teams completely obliterate some of the male teams. Can you tell me what tournaments or what other teams they were obliterating,
Let me see
and how
here.
far they made
Now,
it up their chains?
yeah, sure. Now I'll be honest with you. When it comes down to the specifics of their tournament turnouts, I wasn't looking so much as their ability to um win numerous tournaments, or I was looking more along the lines of their ability to compete in general. There is a fine line between being able to play a game well and being able to compete. So I was looking more along the lines of, okay, female gamers who have become pro gamers in whatever field that they have chosen, whatever game they've chosen, and gone from there. So I was see here. I think there was. I actually don't have a record of the teams right now. But I know that CLG was one, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. Should have wrote that down.
All right. Next question is you said it would be beneficial to have more females in the pro scene. Um what what benefits would come of that? Like just having females in there instead of men, like just solely based off of gender.
So it wouldn't be staying, of course, solely based off of gender. Like you had said, there is a difference between being, You do need a certain level of skill to be able to play competitively. So it would be one of those things where um, it would be more along the lines of esports wouldn't be a thing that's automatically attributed with like a male dominated industry. You look at esports now, it's a bunch of men. Like I can't think of a whole lot. I actually had to do research to try to find a number of teams that were able to compete or that have competed and become professional. Um, if we have more teams that are co-ed, more spotlight on that, it would be one of those things where we could change an entire outlook on the industry instead of it just being a thing of, oh, well, they're just doing it to be inclusive. Like I would prefer for my child to grow up looking at it and be like, oh, I could do that too, instead of just being like, oh, it's a bunch of guys.
All right. So you said that you had to really search to find competitive female teams. Why do you think that is? Like really search for them.
So amongst my research, there were a lot of varying theories as to why females aren't as apparent in the pro scene. One of the top reasons is in order to compete at a pro level, person has to find the game interesting enough for them to sink time into, and therefore hone their skill. You're not going to find a lot of it's according to the research, you're not finding a lot of females who are saying, "Oh, okay, let me sit down and dump 150 hours in Rainbow Six," let's say. You're not going to find a whole lot of them. And the ones that do, those are the ones that wind up perfecting their craft and eventually attempting to make it into something.
All right. So what I'm hearing is that there's a lot more women that I okay, so here's my interpretation of it: is there's a lot of women that don't have the dedication to put the time and work in that a male would to get into the pro scene.
I would never attempt to insinuate that. I would, however, say that it may not be as common. Not every game has a pro league. Let's also face that.
Yeah.
So there are female gamers, but their game that they prefer just doesn't have a pro league. They could be really badass. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. They could be extremely amazing at the game, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they will make it to a pro league because the game just doesn't have it. So it's more along the lines of them trying to find the type of games that they like. Some majority aren't a fan of shoot 'em ups, and we could go from there. Some prefer strategy games and others don't. So these other games that they prefer, those may not have the pro league, which is why you're seeing that lack of females in the pro spotlight. Not to mention also the other games that do, like Hearthstone. I don't see a whole lot of fanfare about it. Ash, I know you're in the audience somewhere. But yeah, it's one of those games that, again, prime example.
All right. Well, those
All
are my
right.
questions.
Thank you, guys. That was 4. That was great. By the way, our Crackerjack staff looked up the term badass, and it's a Lebanese term meaning exceptionally good at online gaming. So we're going to let that one slide through the sensors there. Now, while these two gentlemen plan their last 2-minute closing arguments, I'm going to just take a moment here again to thank our sponsor, Top Fox Snacks, clean protein on the go. Listen, if you want to hit the ground running every day, feeling healthy and ready to tackle your to-do list, then Top Fox is designed the perfect snack, delivers high protein, clean fuel your life deserves. You might have seen Neptune and Blue Spartan diving into some of their pop roasted pumpkin seeds the other night. If you'd like to give them a try yourself, I'm happy to announce you can now find Top Fox Snacks on 7seas.gg. That's the number 7, the word seas, a dot, and then a couple of G's. All right, thank you very much. Now we have our closing arguments. Once again, we're going to start with the first speaker, GunSlngr. You have 2 minutes to wrap it up. Go ahead.
So, in conclusion, based off of the arguments that have been provided, of course, there's not a whole lot saying that females are not welcome in the esports league. A lot of teams, if they have the skill, they're more than welcome to apply, audition, whatever the case may be. So that being said, right, it wouldn't make sense for us to go ahead and differentiate and say, okay, well, the girls go over here, the guys go over here. In the society that we live in, we as a whole have drawn enough lines in the sand. If this will literally just be another one, and we don't really need that. This is a perfect time for all of us to show the world that a gaming community can be inclusive without there being any issues, any major craziness going on. And that's really what this is all about. Esports is one of those things where we want to show that sense of community and we want to show that sense of inclusion. If my daughter were growing up and she would I wanted to play for FaZe, of course, I would push her into the Aquatik family, hopefully, beforehand. But if that's what she wanted to do, by all means. I don't want to have to sit here and say, well, I'm sorry, baby. You can't compete for FaZe. Those are only guys. You got to go to CLG. And that would be just a negative in my book. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. And Aiden, you have 2 minutes to wrap it up. Go ahead and state your case.
All right, so females, they can join the predominantly male pro scene if they please. You have to keep in mind that these teams are they're their own private teams. They enter into tournaments that they want to, and they don't enter the tournaments that they don't want to. They can choose their own roster, and if they find a male player better than a female player, they're gonna go with the male player. Same if they find a female player better than a male player. By the roster lineups that we've been seeing, they just clearly think the males are better at that in that sector, and obviously that's completely okay because it's their team and they can do what they think is necessary to go and win a championship. Now, back to the tournaments thing, they can start regulating female players into teams, but then teams could easily just leave the scene because they don't want to pay for players that they don't see fit to be on their team. Which is why I think that it would be good to have a male league and then a female league, because then you have teams that are only looking for the best females. You don't have males trying to swoop in and take that spot. So, in conclusion, I believe that females should have their own league and the males should have their own league. Or if they don't want to change anything, the females and males can put in the work that they need to do to get on the next big team and get in the next tournament and take a championship.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Judges, it's now all on you. I ask you to make your decisions quickly and then report them, and I will find the results very soon. While we're waiting on the results, I want to talk to you in the audience. I want you to know that you think this looks easy, but I want you to give it a shot. Riptide, bring that up on the screen. If you go to aquatik.gg/makingwaves, there is a form there that you can fill out and you can volunteer to debate on this show. You can help us choose your topic and choose your side and see if you can walk away a winner and bring home an extra $100 cash prize for your troubles. All right, let's see how the judges are doing. It looks like I'm starting to get the text here. Hold on one second. See, you told me you didn't need a lot of time tonight, and there. All right, let's see. Okay, we have the judges' decision from 5 anonymous judges. The winner of tonight's debate is GunSlngr. As far as the audience is concerned, they agree. GunSlngr is the winner tonight. Aiden, thank you very, very much for all your efforts. GunSlngr, nice job for you too. Congratulations, and you will get some hot check in the mail. Now, Aiden, before we let you go, can you tell us where we can find you when we want to find you online?
So you can find all of my socials at linktree.com/AidenFarmer11. I do know that it has some weird spelling, but that's just how it is. Links in the chat if you guys want to check that out. And thank you guys.
All right. Hey, thanks very much for all your time. GunSlngr, again, congratulations. Where can we find you online?
A little bit of everywhere, sometimes not in the best of places, but usually I'm everywhere. No, you can find me at
Called TMI.
twitch.tv. You can find me at twitch.tv/Gunslinger. YouTube, same name. Twitter, it's _Gunslinger, and on Instagram, it's Gunslinger Official.
All right. Hey, gentlemen, I know you put a lot of work into this. Thank you very, very much for all your efforts. And thank you, judges, and thank you, viewers. Hope you agreed with the judges' selection. Let us know what you thought. In the meantime, come back next week when we can continue to make some waves. Tighten out.